Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we have to take a look today at your New Jersey Devils. The Devils are rumored one of their big wingers is on the market, Pavel Zacha. Could we see him get traded before this year's trade deadline? We'll be taking a little bit of a sneak dive into that today. So, a lot of stuff on Pavel Zacha here, really over the last, I would say, this whole week. It's been a lot about the focus of Pavel Zacha maybe being moved out of New Jersey. Pavel Zacha was an early draft pick, first round pick in the top 10 for the New Jersey Devils. I want to say it was 2016, 2017. It took him a while to get going, and it took Pavel Zacha a couple years to get his development going. But now we're seeing Pavel Zacha come into his own. And we saw probably in 2020 for the first time, but now we're seeing it now for the third year. Pavel Zacha has really become a good NHL player. And maybe because the players around him have gotten better. He's playing with guys like Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, and you're starting to see this team actually become something. But unfortunately, it does look like Pavel Zacha could maybe move out of Jersey if things aren't done by the trade deadline. So this is the first report from Jeff Merrick. The Vancouver Canucks are a team with interest in forward Pavel Zacha. I just did a video on the Canucks talking about them maybe acquiring Pavel Zacha. But what I think is more intriguing is the fact that the Canucks have things that the Devils could use. I don't see them necessarily trading a first-round pick. You could see a pretty high second-round pick, a pretty high third-round pick, which is almost a second-round pick at that point. And the Devils could use some of that. And not to mention they have prospects like Niels Höglander. I mean, you could make a deal work here if you're the Devils, if you know what you're doing. And I think that Pavel Zacha, unfortunately, he's been a great player for the Devils, but they could get a pretty nice haul for him. Now, this is an interesting one. So let's get to it. So this is from Elliot Friedman. He says, keep an eye on the Capitals in the sweepstakes for forward Pavel Zacha. Now, what's interesting about that is that's the Devils' rival. Their one of their many their divisional rivals in the Metro. So I don't know if that deal is necessarily going to happen, but again, if the Capitals give a good enough offer, I would say that the Devils would take it. And they've made deals with them in the past. They know their prospects. They've, taken guys like Jonas Siegenthaler, who developed with the Hershey Bears for a couple years. They know that organization quite well. So maybe that does end up being something that materializes over the next couple of weeks. This is also from Friedman. There's a lot of trade interest around the league in Devils forward Pavel Zacha. Again, kind of continuing that sentiment. One player we believe the Canucks have interest in, at least are curious about, is Zacha. He's a pending RFA with arbitration rights. Teams are calling on him. Again, so a lot of teams like the fact he's arbitration eligible, so he doesn't necessarily have to sign the contract, but they could go to ARB. He's also a restricted free agent. Again, gives a little bit of leverage to the team. I think teams like that. And he has played in the league now for, I think, 3 or 4 years. He's definitely got some NHL experience, and he's gotten pretty good at this whole hockey thing in the NHL. This is a guy that I think will definitely be of interest to a lot of teams. And then that leads us into the final part of today's video. This is a short one on the New Jersey Devils goalie, Mackenzie Blackwood. So this is from Elliot Friedman. New Jersey and Mackenzie Blackwood are going through second and potentially third opinions over treatment for his injured heel. The timeline is uncertain. This is really bad news. Mackenzie Blackwood is the backbone of that goaltending group for the Devils, as they've lost Mackenzie Blackwood, who is their starter, Jonathan Bernier, who is their backup. He has been out for the season. And then behind that, you're kind of talking about young guys. You're talking about Nico Dawes, who's been playing in the AHL. So you're expecting a lot from guys that you're really, they haven't seen a lot of professional hockey yet, even at the minor league level. But the good news is the Utica Devils, that's their new AHL team up in Utica, they're doing really well this season. They're one of the best teams in the American Hockey League, so I guess there's some positive to that if you're a Devils fan, but yeah, there's definitely some things where you're like, damn, it's been a rough year. Things have not gone well for the Devils again, and it's just so frustrating. Every offseason we say, all right, they added Subban. Great. They added Jack Hughes. They added Nico Hischier. Great in consecutive years. And then they get Dougie Hamilton, the big fish this year. You see how that's turned out. So the Devils have just struck out on everybody. That everybody said is a home run contract and this and that. Makes you wonder if it's more of the player scouting, guys not being a good fit with the organization, the development of the team, the coaching staff. That's not a shot at Lindy Ruff, but let's be honest, there is something to that at this point, right? So, again, the Devils are continuing to develop. You're seeing guys like Jack Hughes, who performed great at the All-Star game. You're going to see Luke Hughes come to the Devils next season after his season in Michigan this year. I can honestly say I've seen Luke Hughes at the college level. I saw him up at Penn State last year. He looks good, but it's even Owen Power. Like, they're still making some little mistakes here and there. So there's a reason they're playing back in college. They are not ready for the NHL quite yet. Again, that was a couple months ago, so he's developed since then. But from what I saw back in November, there was definitely a reason he was sent back to college, and I think it'll be better for him. He'll be primed and better ready to go this season. And maybe they learned from his brother Jack. Bring him in year one because he's the first overall pick that isn't necessarily the best thing for the player. And I think, even the Sabres learned that here with bringing back Owen Power, the first overall pick in the 2021 NHL draft. And I think he's going to be ready for the NHL in the fall, just like Luke Hughes. So that is it for today's video. A lot of stuff on the Devils, but I'm sure things are going to get more interesting. Again, I think the Devils are trying to keep things pretty status quo this year. We could see a guy like Pavel Zacha out, maybe some little mitigating changes here and there, but other than that, I don't see the Devils being too active. They're one of the worst teams in the league. They're bottom 10 in the NHL standings. It's been another rough season for the Devils. And I don't really know how they're going to fix it. Again, they've drafted back-to-back first-round picks in three seasons. In 2 of 3 seasons, whatever. So, I don't know. I don't know where this ends for the Devils, but you're starting to build the pieces, which I guess is one way to look at it. I mean, look how long it's taken teams like the Senators, the Canucks to rebuild. And then you see teams like the Minnesota Wild who do it within a year or two. You look at the Rangers who did it within 3 years. So there are teams out there that get that quick turnaround. So we'll see how this works for the Devils. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.